Good morning, guys. Hope everyone's doing well. So, welcome to Investor Conclave, a flagship event by Atal Incubation Center. I'll be your host for tonight. I'm Karishma Shah, Innovation Associate at Atal Incubation Center. I'll request Mr. Harshal, the CEO of Atal Incubation Center, to give a few words about our event and introduce AIC and MIMS. Harshal?
Thanks, Karishma. Welcome, everyone. It feels just to kind of start off with, meaning it feels very different. So, meaning this is the third time we've done an event like this, and the last time when we had done, meaning we had to put extra chairs in order to accommodate this. So, but now I'm very happy that as a team we've kind of reoriented, like many of the startups that you will be kind of talking to, and it's a thing where now what this has really helped us do is reach out to investors which we never thought we could reach out to. So amongst us we would have investors from different parts of different parts of India, different parts of the world, like Singapore, US, and all. So it's really amazing. We are very excited to present the next batch who's sitting over here. Obviously, you guys won't be able to see it, but they're sitting over here. All are very excited to come and kind of present to you. Before we kind of start, I just wanted to give you a brief, firstly, welcome everyone who has kind of joined us, and give you a brief introduction about the Atal Incubation Center at NMIMS. So it's been 2 years since we've been operating. Currently, we incubate close to 59 startups. We are sector agnostic. We started off with a very simple mission of how to give support to the lonely entrepreneurial journey, which an entrepreneur faces. And with the help of Niti Aayog and the Atal Innovation Mission, we have come so far. We've received more than 2,000 applications, which we've kind of shortlisted, and we are here today. Our dream is to give Mumbai a vibrant ecosystem like anywhere else in the world, be it the US, be it Singapore, be it other cities like a Bangalore and a Hyderabad. So that's really the dream that we've kind of started off with. We've grown from strength to strength. This is the third investor conclave that we are doing here. We are going to be showcasing the top 4 of our startups to you, and we're really hoping that there's a lot of hard work which has actually gone into by the entire team over here into present to you. So our entire goal of this investor conclave is that this is the start of the startup's journey into when they are able to handle the funds or get support from worthy investors like you. So Prateek will be talking more about this, but there has been a real aggressive 3 months training that right from what to pitch or what an investor is looking to, all the way to a preliminary due diligence on their accounts, on their financials, is really what we kind of target at this particular center. So that when you as the investor, essentially, you're able, it kind of cuts that entire comprehensive journey which every startup kind of sees over here before he really pitches to the investor. So that's a have raised funds and have been successful. We've been successful in actually raising those funds. So it's a thing that we really strive to. It's a thing that we as a center are always striving to see as to what the investors are looking for, because we kind of appreciate that this is a very integral part of their entire journey. So I don't want to take more time. Meaning the idea is that we will showcase to you. Prateek will be walking you through the entire how the entire event is going to go. And thank you for coming. Thank you for joining. And yeah, thanks.
Now I'll welcome our next colleague. And to our 25/7 model and the investment team.
Yeah, thanks, Karishma. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining on the Saturday morning. So let me quickly brief you about AIC NMIMS Incubation Center and our journey so far, and about 25/7 network. So Atal Incubation Center is one of the first center which was established by Atal Innovation Mission Niti Aayog Government of India in the state of Maharashtra. We are into operation for 2 years now, and in terms of our journey so far, we have as now we have more than 2,000 applications we have received. We have incubated 59 odd startups and investment partners we have onboarded. 682 plus jobs were created by our portfolio startups in last 2 years. We have a pool of mentors, which is again from industry experts and from NMIMS. Most of them comprises of angel investors, VC funds, family offices. Also, we have recently made a pool of investor network, which is now more than 300 investors have onboarded, which is called as 25/7 network. In terms of events, there are more than 200 events we have hosted. And in terms of the investor conclave, this is the third one. Two we have previously hosted and seven startups funded. So coming on to the next is broadly about investor conclave. Which is broadly we make a panel of internal and external panels which kind of evaluate the startups who apply for the investor conclave. And the key selection criteria is we focus on the USP of the startup, the founding team, the Yeah, coming to the training program. So once these startups get selected in our investor training program, they go. It's more than 2 months of a training, which broadly gives them a good in terms of it prepares them to be how to present in front of investors. What investors look, what kind of financial models, what kind of the pitch deck preparation. There's one-on-one mentoring. for today for this investor conclave. Next. Yeah, so in terms of due diligence, we make sure this that's all these parts are being covered. So there's a business due diligence, there's tech and finance due diligence, compliance due diligence, and books of accounts. So in terms of all these is what we make sure that this who all attend this investor conclave. So it's as I said, it's more than we have 300 plus network of investors. So it comprises of angel investors, HNI, CXOs, angel networks, family offices, wealth management firms, and VC firms. And all these are kind of previously in first and second investor conclave. Also, we got a very good response, and most of the investors attended, and this time it's much more of a larger audience who are attending currently. Startup, we'll be connecting you with individual startup founders and the investors via email. And also, we'll facilitate in setting up the first meeting, first call with the founders. And also, we support in all the overall documentation process. So, in terms of term sheets, agreements, all the other compliances. And we are free with the startup unless they close the deal. So, it's more of a this is just the beginning and it will end when they successfully close the deal. Now coming to the 25 by 7 network. So this network is already we have kind of launched in April. Has identified the need to formalize a pre-seed round of investments, because that is the most important and that is the most difficult for all the startups is the first round of funding. So which is ideally a 25 lakh of a round. So this is something we have kind of formalized. So how this network works is it's more of a all this we have standardized all the processes. There is no negotiation in terms of how much equity to dilute, how much to raise. We have simple term sheets, all the due diligence is in place, and all this leads to faster deal closing. So that's the ultimate objective of this network, so that the startup gets the first round of funding at a very minimal possible time. They can uh, either one investor can come in and put in 25 lakhs, and in return they will get 7% of equity, or else it can be a group of investors, so like five investors coming together and putting in 25 lakhs, and accordingly the equity will split. So this is the beauty of this model. In terms of investment, till date we have kind of raised so much of like our startups have raised so much in like from previous investor conclave, DesiPay. They have raised through 25 lakhs from pool of investors. We have Renal Project. We have Bima Garage, which is 1.2. So this is broadly about our portfolio starters fundraising. on partnering with the VC funds for the further round of investments and keep on supporting the our portfolio startups. So this is broadly about our journey and about AIC and MIMS. Now I would like Karishma to
answer the questions on your behalf. Uh, and I would request you all to put the chat to the host, and any queries that you have, I'll be willing to share all the details.
Absolute honor to be standing in front of you, virtually, of course, given the current situation. But, ladies and gentlemen, this interaction right here has been made possible by a few individuals who had a dream to change. Consumers. What we are trying to do is we are trying to bridge the gap. We are creating more opportunities for farmers by getting their produce directly to cities, directly to consumers. And when it comes to people, we are making in a store. The fruits and vegetables come from our own hand-picked select farmers. And we've got over 45 vendors on board with over 900 products in organic, vegan, and the Ayurvedic scale. We are a one-stop solution for all health and wellness related products. Soon we'll be venturing into agrotourism, health food deliveries, and much more to create an entire experience for the consumers. These are some of the notable brands which we have on board. Simply Fresh here in both of these entities together. We have regular audits, there are soil testings which take place, and these reports are shared with all our clients and customers to maintain transparency. We aim to reach from a farm to a store in less than 18 hours to ensure that farm fresh produce reaches a consumer. Soon we want to help our farmers With the addition of technologies like crop yield prediction, remote sensing, and even blockchain to improve their experience of being connected with Agrify. Some of the notable brands which we have on board for our B2B business are given below. Star Bazaar is one of our biggest clients to whom we've been supplying for a long time. To afford organic produce or won't able to they didn't know where to buy organic produce from. And when it comes to B2B, we've got restaurants, health cafes, supermarkets who are now changing the way in which people buy the produce. uh, just to take an example of Mumbai, the upper middle class and middle class families in Mumbai are 34.5 lakh. Our family, on an average, spends 3,000 rupees on grocery and fruits and vegetables. That alone gives a market of 1,035 crores monthly. Now, what we are trying to do is we are trying to target Mumbai, Pune, Surat, and Delhi over the next 3 years. Now, I know that this is a crowded space. When it comes to competitors, there are many. But what we are trying to do is that we are making certain the tests, the audits are shown. We are creating a marketplace for all kinds of products in which we are offering our vendors different kinds of shipping and logistics solutions. We are fulfilling deliveries from them, they are fulfilling it. So we are creating an Amazon kind of experience for our vendors who want to associate with organic. What we are also trying to do is adding value added services like agrotourism. Now, what this does is this creates an entire experience for a consumer. They know that from where their vegetable is coming from, and they can also visit that farm. So that is something that we're trying to create over here. Now, how we plan to reach our consumers? Now, when we launched our B2C website, we had queries from over 17,000 people who are right now in our database. We contact them on a daily basis to tell them about the new products and things which we've been launching. Now, the brand on the marketplace. We also charge for warehousing and delivery and logistics services. When it comes to our B2B business, we've got a 25% gross margin on fruits and vegetables, 40% on grocery, and we plan to have a 10 to 20% stake in farmer producer company brands, which we'll be launching. Now, months. Now we want to reach 2,500 customers who are constantly buying from us, at least a 30% repeat ratio. We want to enter 2 supermarket chains and 2 restaurant chains by October. Between November and January, we want to reach a monthly orders of 8,000. We also want to enter the Pune region and also venture into A2 milk deliveries. Between February and April, we want The three of them have just completed their engineering, and I'm still in my final year of BTech Computers. Urvish handles our operations and our backend system completely. Himanshu is handling all the B2B clients and he's developing the business. At the same time, he's in charge of the experience that a customer has. Siddesh here right now is the head of our product development, our brand development, the brands which we are getting on board, the vetting process, and the things which happen. Now, I know that we aren't IIM graduates or people who have got 10 years of corporate experience, but these guys right here are driven. They're driven to make a positive change. Coming to the ask, we are right now raising 25 lakh rupees, and the main areas of deployment will be technological integrations like blockchain and crop yield predictions and things like that I've spoken about. We want to develop our product in terms of our website and app. We want to set up farm collection centers in the cities we target. Part of it will also be spent on marketing, operational expenses, and it will go towards our grocery brand launch. So all from my side, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Guys, it's now time for polling. You'll get 1 minute for polling and followed by a Q&A. So the time for polling ends, and now I'll present the questions to Darpan. Darpan, our investors want to know what is the time from farm to home?
It's less than 18 hours. What we do is even right now, for example, the delivery that is taking place tomorrow, what we follow is that in the morning we tell our farmers what needs to be harvested. During the evening, harvest takes place. During Mumbai, on an average, has a population right now 1.84 crore, out of which 50% are either living in slums or they are in poverty. So we've discounted that, and on an average, 4 families have been considered to be an average. So that's how we've reached a figure of 34.5 lakh in terms of the number of families in Mumbai alone. And when it comes to an average spend, there is government data which is available, which I can share post this presentation, which can be shared with you all.
Great.
before we started Agrify. We worked in it for 2 years, and that's the amount of time it took us to develop an entire farmer network. We've personally traveled the entire state of Maharashtra to look for farmers, particular farmers, verify certifications, and that's something that's not possible to everyone. Even right now, people approach us to know the areas from which these farmers are coming from and things like that. But that's something which is the most important. The backend network right now, creating that backend network of trustworthy farmers is something that's most important to us.
Okay. What is your monthly burn and cash burn?
So right now, through the last year, we've been profitable, and we've been investing all of that into our business itself. So in terms of expenses, right now, since the founders aren't taking any salary, and we've got a few employees in terms of customer service representatives, marketing representatives, and our entire logistics and marketing, our warehousing costs, that ranges somewhere around 4 to 5 lakh rupees, depending on the number of orders we have and the transportation that takes place. But otherwise, we've been profitable.
What is the order cancellation and return percentage?
So orders right now, since we're taking pre-orders, there is hardly about 1% of orders that get cancelled, and that's just because maybe a person is moving somewhere or their building has gone into quarantine or something like that. But otherwise, we've not received any cancellation as such. But our fill rate in terms of orders, that's right now in the range of 92%. So that's where we are lacking. We want to have that percentage increase as much as possible, and that's mainly because of unavailability at farms and the weather conditions. But we inform our customers beforehand, so they have a good experience.
What kind of support is given to the farmers?
In terms of farmers, we ourselves have a representative at the back end. Right now, our farmer groups, which we are in touch with, they are themselves supplying a few boxes with us. They have the societies and the people that have contacted us. We have given them a platform of our website to directly sell their produce. We have partnered with them in terms of a barcode technology at the pack house, or be it hiring people there, getting people there. We are there in every front. We help our farmers in all cases possible.
What's your current gross margin?
In our B2B business, for our F&B, it's 60%. For our B2C business, it's 60%. And for our B2C business, it's about 60%. And B2B is 25%.
What is the current delivery time?
Delivery time, so it's, if a customer places an order, it's about 36 hours, since we want to make sure that products are as fresh as possible. We have an option of doing it within a day, but what happens there is that we need to pre-order things, and that leads to a lot of wastage. We aim to do that as soon as possible, but we need to work out ways in which wastage can be reduced, and fresh products need to reach our consumers, because what others do is they stock up products and those are themselves delivered to customers, but the freshness is compromised. So we are right now focusing on the quality of produce that's reaching our consumers, and that has been working out well for us.
Thanks a lot, Darpan.
Thank you.
I'm sorry we won't be able to take in all the questions. We have a rapid fire round at the end. We can have more questions then. Now I'd like Shikhar, the startup founder of Redesign, to give his presentation.
So, hey everyone, I'm sure that all of you are doing great today, this Saturday morning. How about, how does 5x growth in users and revenue in 1 year sound to you? I'm sure that's interesting, right? My name is Shikhar Vaidya. I'm the founder of Redesign. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to give you enough reasons to invest in a startup that believes that it can change the face of the creative industry. Incidentally, we all know someone who's creatively talented but gave up on their dream because of their inability to make money. All right, I'm sorry. So, my name is Shikhar Vaidya. I'm the founder of Redesign. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to give you enough reasons to invest in a startup that believes that it can change the face of the creative industry. Incidentally, we all know someone who's creatively talented but gave up on their dream because of their inability to make money. Maybe it was you. Maybe you wanted to become a singer, writer, actor, choreographer, designer, fitness expert, maybe. As far as I can remember, a career in creativity has always been termed as risky and with low financial security. You see, creativity is serious business. It's backbone of all innovation and revenue. If there was not enough creative people making songs or videos on your social feed, Facebook would not be able to show you ads or make revenue from those advertisements. In itself, it's a $31 billion industry that survives on rewarding the top 1% of its talent. So what happens to the remaining 99%? They have the option to make a Facebook page, probably a YouTube or an Instagram, and they get a ton of likes and followers. But then what? They're not able to make any money, and likes don't pay the bills. The only people earning from these platforms are these platforms themselves. Platforms like YouTube or Instagram. The platforms like YouTube or Instagram let you make a channel and probably get a lot of followers, but nothing happens after that. They show all of these advertisements to their users, and only breadcrumbs are paid to the content creators. In 2009, when the movie Three Idiots came out, I was wondering, why does Farhan not earn as much as an engineer? Does he have less talent, less skill, or does he work less hard than any of his peers? That's not the case. The answer came in 2012 when the book $100 Startup came out, and Chris rightly answered that the missing piece is that you do not get paid for the hobby itself, but you get paid for helping others or using that talent to become marginally useful to your end user. That's when in 2013, the problem became even more personal when I saw thousands of designers and graduates from NIFT lining up for a few hundred positions with a handful of companies. And me and two of my co-founders were thinking, what is going to happen to this 99%? Are all of these creators going to struggle to make a stable income or to make themselves useful? We found out that the problem has three main parts. The first is that creators become only marginally useful to companies for a very small period of time, which is the freelance part. The second is that they lack business and marketing tools and skills to go to market, and basically costs 2 to 3 lakhs and 3 months to register a company, find vendors, or go to market yourself. And the third is they do not have capital or a career graph to advance into this industry. That's when me and two of my co-founders came up with a solution to make a platform that would make go-to-market for content creators fast, scalable, easy, and affordable. A social media with business and marketing tools that lets content creators earn directly from their fans in two major ways: monthly paid memberships and merchandise sales. So our user-facing product consists of an exclusive channel for content creators where users are able to pay a small amount in monthly subscription fees to the content creator, engage with their profile. Imagine a membership fees like a small amount that you pay to subscribe to a channel on your Tata Sky, except you're doing it on an app. The second, of course, is merchandise, where we are giving our content creators tools to design 15 plus fashion and lifestyle categories that are entirely drop shipped, print on demand, handled by manufacturing and delivery by us for them, for their brand. That means we are a full stack platform for end-to-end business solutions. There are 12 business and marketing tools that a content creator gets to use to go to market, which includes an easy course builder for e-learning, a social feed, an analytics dashboard, brand collaborations, memberships, and whatnot. So this is basically all of the tools that a content creator would need to go to market. So how does a creator earn today? A creator earns in two major ways. The first is digital revenue, which is the factor of the number of memberships, number of members that they have on their channel, and the membership fees paid by every content creator towards the channel. All of these tiers are decided by the creators themselves. And the second is royalty on merchandise sales, which is a factor of number of products that they sell per month and the profit per product. All of this is already available to them in their business dashboard on Redesign, which is under their control. So how does Redesign earn? Redesign majorly in three main ways. The first one is merchandise, where we have a 50% gross margin because we take care of everything from manufacturing to delivery. This is at no minimum guarantee and no minimum orders. That means everything is only produced and delivered to the end customer when the order is placed. So it's a very inventory light model. The second is memberships, where content creators are paid a small amount in fees by the end user to them, which is realized by Redesign in our bank accounts and then distributed to the creator. And the third is the platform fees that is paid by the creator to Redesign per month for access to the 12 business and marketing tools that we have. Our business model has four main components. The first is the merchandise and content channel. The second are the third-party vendors and apps who manufacture and deliver these products, and also the apps which enable the e-course builder, the e-learning, the video and content upload. The third is the most important, which is the engaged audience. And the fourth is, of course, the creator marketplace, which is open and accessible to everyone, but is a gated access community. So this is just like Instagram, except that you pay to your creators to access their content. Can you believe that content monetization in India alone today is a $20 billion industry via sponsorships, brand deals, advertisements, with 2 million creators across YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and a lot of them which have not even been signed on to any platform yet. Their overall reach is more than 400 million as we speak, and they impact purchase decisions for 56% of the millennials that consume their content. In terms of competition in India, there is only two players, indirect competition. One is Hapram, which was recently funded by Mr. Anand Mahindra. They are trying to reward creators via Bitcoin and blockchain, which is not that attractive to content creators, to be honest. And the second is Qkey, which is a talent management agency, again trying to address the same age-old problem via brand deals and sponsorships. Redesign right now is the only player in the market with merchandise dropshipping, public channels for content creators, an analytics dashboard that gives them complete control of their business and is focused on the Southeast Asian Indian market. The biggest player in this market is Patreon, which is a company based in the US, having done around $2.5 billion in revenue and raised more than $160 million today. In our lifetime, we have earned our creators 21 lakhs in earnings, with our own revenue being 2.2 CR. In the last 1 year, we have grown our users and revenue by 5x, coming from 23.5 lakhs to 1.3 CR in GMV. As of today, we stand with 85,000 users, 20,000 paying customers, and 3,000 registered content creators with the platform. From here on, the vision is to become the market leader or the global leader as a content monetization marketplace where there is complete financial freedom for content creators or creative industry as a whole. We're looking to scale up to 100,000 creators and 5 million users over the next 18 months with a 20x revenue growth and SaaS offering to brands which is already in beta. I'm very happy to share that of the 2.5 CR we are raising, as of this morning, I have 1 CR in commitments to be deployed towards product development, creator onboarding, hiring of key employees, and creating the environment which makes automations for content creators a thing where they are able to self-train and go to market every day. So we would be able to take our go-to-market speed from say 10 creators to approximately 300 creators per day. Our team is an amazing combination of skill sets from the industry with insights and experience that is absolutely relevant to creating a business around this model. Smriti, having worked with PR celebrities, having brought celebrities like Irfan Khan, Ayushmann Khurrana, Ranveer Singh to the platform, worked with brands like Levi's, is a big asset to our team. Pratyush, having led the team for Oyo Rooms and Bavefood.com, looks at our tech infrastructure. And I look at project management, B2B sales and operations, having worked with brands like Chirpal, Culture Shock. The idea with this team was always to have the kind of skill set from 3 different diverse fields that would bring the absolute focus that is required to build a content monetization model, not just from the perspective of making profits for the industry, but creating an actual impact on creators so that they stay with the platform. Our advisors and mentors include people from Jabong, Facebook, co-working spaces, and not investing in Redesign in 2020 is almost like not investing in Facebook in 2004. So for any new investor, although we are trying to scale this up to the next 20x, the possible exits include acquisition by a consumer tech media network, a Series A fundraise, or a merger with an e-commerce market leader. So don't miss out on this opportunity to invest with us. And the next time you see your creative friends, tell them about Redesign.
So the time for polling ends, and now I'll ask questions. So Shikhar, is the app ready, and how many users and creators are on board?
Yeah, so the app and platform have been live for almost 18 months. Memberships are in beta. We have the first 130 creators who have already started gaining users. In terms of the merchandise platform, we have made, like I said, 1.3 CR in revenue from that platform. So it's very much active. We were just about to launch merchandise with celebrities like Benny Dayal and Neha Kakkad in early March and April, but because of logistics, we haven't been able to yet, but we are going to start that really soon. So to answer the question, yes, the platform is active. We have 85,000 users and 3,000 registered content creators, with increasing almost by 10 to 15 per day. And this is organic.
Okay, what's the valuation for the current round?
We're looking at a 12.5 CR pre-money valuation and around a 15 CR post-money valuation. So that's almost a 2x from the last valuation. Because so our logic behind that is a 5x growth in revenue, discounting the valuation to probably a 2x.
Users are used to consume content for free on other social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook. You're saying they'll pay the content creator here. Is there any validation for the same so far for any of your platform?
Yeah, so there is huge validation about this. This was the very first question that we decided to answer for ourselves, if Indian users or Southeast Asian users will pay these content creators as a monthly membership or not. See, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, you can obviously go out and consume content, and that's free. It doesn't earn the creator any money, and that's just general content that the creator makes for everyone. On our platform, consider that you're a fan of, say, Vishal Dadlani, and he has 1 million followers and you're one of them. But what if he says that I'm going to take 10,000 of all of you fans and make exclusive content for you, or I'm going to do a concert exclusively for you for like a breadcrumb amount of money, which is say 100 or 150 rupees a month. Now that makes that group of consumers or users special. It makes them feel wanted, seen, and you know the kind of response that people get when they get a response from that influencer or celebrity on social media. So it's about exclusivity. It's about creating an invite-only group, and we've seen that kind of validation with Benny Dayal and Neha Kakkad, and we're trying to replicate that to even bigger celebrities or medium-sized celebrities also. So yeah, big-time validation on that, and users are very much willing to pay because it's a small amount. I'm going to take a few seconds to very quickly tell you, online classes are not scalable. Nobody's going to pay 200 rupees per class for 30 days, but people are ready to pay 100 rupees per month to get access to that content. They pay just as much to subscribe to channels on TV, and I don't think that would be a big issue.
Okay, so is it only apparels or looking at other products as well?
So, like I was saying, we were just about to launch sneakers, which were printed shoes, which would have been printed on demand. So we are already into 3 lifestyle categories, which is shoes, bags, and caps. We have a vendor based in Surat and Jalandhar who's also now looking at skateboards and curtains, bed sheets, pillow covers. So there is a whole range of products that sublimation printing or on-demand printing can be used on. We started with fashion because it's the most acceptable, and all of our products are exclusive to the platform. They're not available anywhere and stand out from the crowd when you look at them. So we started with fashion, but we are already into 5 lifestyle categories.
Great. So what are your current margins and what's the subscription fees?
So our current margins on merchandise sales are 50% gross, because we take care of everything from manufacturing to delivery. Our margins on we charge a 10% commission to the creator on his monthly earnings, and the subscription fees for a user is decided by the creator for their channel. So if you're a creator, you can decide that you're going to make 3 tiers of memberships: 100 rupees, 150, and 300. Maybe a highest tier member gets a t-shirt every month, which is again dropshipped by us. The creator pays redesign 1049 rupees a month plus GST, for access to these tools and services, and we charge a one-time setup fees of 6895. Oh, sorry, 6495 plus GST. That's a one-time charge, and after that, it's just 1049 per month. Eventually, we'll be introducing dynamic pricing where people are able to pay for added services within the platform, like automations, collaborations, brand deals, etc. So that's still in the pipeline, but we're going to stick with this model for now.
So Shikhar, investors are still not clear why would a member pay for content channel when there is so much available for free on so many platforms?
Like I said, it's exclusive content which is not available on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram that a celebrity that you are following is going to create for Redesign. It's not the same content. It's not the same workshops. It's not the same live streams or Q&As. It's content which is exclusive to Redesign and only to the people who have subscribed to that channel. All of these benefits of being in an invite-only elite group, of having exclusive access to a content creator, is what makes people subscribe to a content creator's channel, then just go to YouTube, Facebook, and scroll through all the content that they're able to see, because it's very general. In that, they do not feel seen, or they do not have any direct access to a creator. Imagine, just pick up a celebrity that you're a fan of and say that you have the capability to go to a platform where they respond to you directly. You get some gift or a merchandise kit from them every month, and you're able to have interactions or events with them that none of the other million followers on YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram are able to do. And it's a huge motivator for a creator to bring on more and more audience by saying, see, this is an invite-only club. How you get into a Rotary club, it's not for everyone, right? It's members only. So exclusivity is one of the biggest things that a user goes for when they're subscribing to a channel of a content creator.
Okay. How much revenue has come through the subscription channel so far?
Through the subscription channel of our last year's revenue, approximately 14.5% has been through subscriptions and platform fees paid by the creators. This year, after the economy entirely changed in March and April, we have seen a tremendous growth. And I have to put a number, we've seen at least a 40% more engagement with content creators, channels, and profiles. So there is way more inclination to subscribe to a channel of a creator. And this year would have been at least 25 to 30% contributor via memberships into our model. But over the last year, it's been 14% via memberships and subscriptions and 85% via merchandise sales.
That's all for now. Any queries further? We'll have a question and answer round at the end, at the rapid fire.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
So now I'll have Kunjan from, Kunjan, startup founder Proto, present this presentation.
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Kunjan and I am one of the co-founders of Proto. Proto is a personalized vehicle manager. So imagine, you having a car or a two-wheeler, how hard it is to manage it, right? Like getting it serviced or replacing the tire and things like that, right? So the primarily, the reason why we entered this particular market is to solve these three problems, right? First is non-standardized post-sale service market, right? Depending on geographies, you won't find the same amount, the same level of quality and the service at the same cost. So you're looking to solve that particular problem. Second is, there is not just one service that is going to be required in your particular vehicle, right? There is regular services, there's insurance related services, there's tire related services, and so on and so forth. And the way in which the market has been developed, all the service providers are working under a different roof. So for different set of services, you have to go to a different service provider. Third is, because of the first two problems, the service consumes a whole lot of time and cost, right? So there are these are the three solutions in which we are solving the three primary problems. First, right? So each of the service stations are certified Proto service station, and they are vetted for the quality of the services that they deliver. Second is platform services. To onboard service providers from all the categories that consumer would be requiring, starting from regular services to tire vendors to battery vendors, insurance vendors, and so on and so forth. Third is doorstep collection and delivery. None of our customers need to physically visit the service station, although on request they can. So what we do is we collect the vehicle from their location, service it and deliver it back to them, no questions asked. So we have developed a product which is a data-driven vehicle management platform, right? And there are two sets of services that we provide. On the left-hand side, you would be able to see the services that are on-demand services like regular maintenance. Database services. Out of them, one is Protoscore. So Protoscore helps a user understand about the health of their vehicle at any point in time. Imagine you knowing what is going to happen to your vehicle next before you physically visit a service station, right? So based on Protoscore, we have created something that we call as predictive maintenance engine. So this predictive maintenance engine sends in the recommendations for products and services to the customer so that they replace that particular product at the right time in order to not shift the focus towards the reactive maintenance because it consumes a whole lot of downtime and the cost associated with it. Third is vehicle analytics and service history. From the time we buy the vehicle till the time we sell it, none of us have data about what has been actually replaced in the vehicle and what has been removed from the vehicle, right? Imagine you knowing from the start till the end what have you done inside your vehicle. On top of that, what we are looking to do it on in future is leverage this data to standardize the cost of resale of second-hand vehicles. So this is our current traction so far. We have closed around 4,200 transactions so far. We are operational in Bombay and we have team size of 11 members consisting of operations manager, customer support executives, marketing executives and our tech team. In the past 18 months, we have seen the growth of about 20% in our number of transactions with a repeat rate of about 30%. And we have clocked a revenue of about 58 lakhs out of those transactions. So speaking of the market size, right? I don't need to mention India is the largest market for two-wheelers, right? Around 40 million two-wheelers are roaming around India today. On top of that, because of COVID-19, as it becomes difficult to follow social distancing norms in the public transport, more and more number of people are looking to focus on private mobility. And more than 80% of Indians are going to focus on two-wheeler for that. And we've already seen that happening. Second is around 22 million four-wheelers are on road in India today. And combining this, the automotive component industry size in India, it's around $56 billion. That's a very huge size. Second is, speaking of market validation, we have seen compounded annual growth rate in this particular domain is 5%. So the average sales has increased by 5% year on year. Second is, according to a survey done by Deloitte, an average millennial spends around 5.4% of his income on vehicle ownership. Yeah, that's right. So speaking about competitive landscape, so we have three competitors as we see it. One of them is Go Mechanic. Go Mechanic is heavily funded by Sequoia. Go Mechanic is primarily into four-wheeler space as of now. Then there is Let's Service, which is a SaaS platform for authorized dealers. Third is Hopi. Hopi is a doorstep service provider wherein they service your vehicle at the doorstep. So one by one, I'll tell you as to how we are different and what are the advantages that we have compared to them. First is quality control. Because of the certification and training that we do at our service stations, the quality of the service is maintained and it is controlled. Second is standardized price and quality. So irrespective of the geography, you'll find the service at the same cost and same quality, which I think OEM also have not been able to achieve. Right? Third is our current focus right now is two-wheelers, primarily because we are looking to help out more number of two-wheelers which are going to be sold in the next 2 to 3 years because of this current situation. Third is data-driven recommendation. So we are the only brand in the market which is providing data-driven recommendations to customers to help them focus and stick on preventive maintenance than reactive maintenance. Third is asset light. So as of now, we don't own any tool. We don't own any service stations. We are currently partnering with service stations, enabling them to become better service stations and provide the services at very low cost to our customers. Third is predictive care. So predictive care is we help our customers from start till the end so that they have complete experience of vehicle ownership. Starting from buying the vehicle to servicing the vehicle till selling the vehicle, we are going to leverage a whole lot of data to help them in terms of this predictive care to incentivize them at the time of selling the vehicle. So this is the ecosystem that we are trying to create. It's a very ambitious one, I'm going to tell you. So on the current supply chain has a lot of players, and despite that, the quality and the cost is not controlled. So what we are trying to do is we are also trying to optimize the entire supply chain, starting from working closely with the service providers across different categories. Further, we are going to work with the manufacturers of the same category to see to it that these service providers are procuring high quality products at low cost directly from the manufacturer, making them make better margins on the products. Second is customer saving a whole bunch of on the products. Third is we are going to help these service providers in terms of marketing and operational support so that they don't need to focus on the marketing bit and the operational bit. Third is business intelligence data for the manufacturers. Now imagine based on the consumption of a particular SKU, the manufacturer can plan his inventory of procuring raw materials. Now with that data, you can truly optimize the entire supply chain and also reduce the cost and increase the quality of the products. So this is the customer testimonial of one of our customers. We have seen majority of women two-wheeler owners who are currently servicing through us because they find it difficult to physically visit the service station and get the vehicle serviced. So this is a team size current. This is a core team currently. I am Kunjan Nirpara. I am the co-founder and CEO. I come from automotive background. I have done my BE in mechanical engineering. Prior to starting Proto, I was working in a two-wheeler marketplace called Credar. Also, I have hands-on experience of working on an automotive. I've participated and led a team which participated in Formula SE Italy. Alan comes from a consulting background. So Alan has been tech consultant since past 7 years. Alan has consulted brands like Medica Bazaar and Parex, which is acquired by Sika, in terms of creating scalable and cost-efficient technological solutions. So this is our funding plan. currently we are looking to raise a seed round of 25 lakhs. We've already signed a term sheet for that from a leading angel investor. And now we are looking in the 3 to 6 months of time, we are looking to raise a pre-series round of 3 crores and up. So that's it, I guess.
Thank you so much, Kunjan. We are going to open the poll now. Okay, it's now time for Q&A. Kunjan, some of our investors have not really understood the service offering. How is Proto creating a score? Is it through a device?
No, so as and when our customers come for servicing, it has to be threshold of 3 services. So between these 3 services, we collect around data of 75 different checkpoints. We primarily measure the reliability of each component, and based on that, we are able to generate something that we call as Proto score. And based on the repeatness of the customer, the Proto score starts learning more and more about the particular vehicle.
Great. Do you have your own service centers or you have tied up with existing garages?
We have tied up with existing garages in a lot of different operations. We have created processes at each of the garages to help them optimize the turnaround time for each vehicle that they service.
Could you share some light on some of your use cases?
So imagine, millennial with a 9 to 5 job, right? So he comes up with a two-wheeler at his office, and in the morning we collect the vehicle, we service a particular vehicle, and we deliver it back to them without them having to waste his Saturday or Sunday, which they generally use it for servicing their vehicle.
What is the revenue model and how much is it?
So revenue model, out of each services that takes place, we make commission of about 15%. So service station handles the entire operational task from collecting the vehicle to delivering it back. We make margins of the ATV that they make, and that is primarily utilized in terms of acquiring customers and streamlining the operations for them.
Are the current customers visiting minimum 3 times?
Yeah. We have repeat rate of around 20%, churn rate of 80%, and based on that, major customers follow frequency of about 4 months. In some cases, some customers are following frequency of 6 to 8 months also.
How many service stations have you tied up in Mumbai specifically and in other locations?
So currently we are working with 25 service stations in Mumbai, catering from on the central side, we are catering from Thane to Chembur and some parts of Mankur. And on the western line region, we are catering from Bandra to Borivali and everything that comes in between, including Kurla, Powai, and RA.
Okay. How do you compete with Go Mechanic, Lenskart Tech?
So the way in which we are differentiating is we primarily work on the data that we collect of the two-wheelers that we service. to give a real personalized experience for the two-wheeler owner to get a majority of understanding about this two-wheeler vehicle performance, so that the customer focuses on two-wheeler maintenance more than just being an enabler to provide services.
What was the COVID impact that you had?
So because of COVID, we had to shut down our operations for 2 months. But after COVID, most of our garages started opening, and based on that, we started our operations. And today we are operational in all of our service stations. 25 of them are open.
Okay, most car owners in India, unlike Western countries, have support from local garages. There are trusted and pick up and deliver cars at home post repair and service. Why should the driver be willing to pay for a consumer for this service?
So customer does not pay anything more. Customer pays same as what the local garage is going to charge. The only differentiating factor that we have towards the service provider side is they leave the entire marketing and operational bit to us. So that because it becomes really difficult for them to do that, especially in terms of discovery, they don't understand digital marketing and they don't have hands-on experience of working in terms of digital marketing. Second is, since we standardize the cost and quality, the transactions and additional part replacement and things like that, the closure of that particular things happen much faster than in the case of non-standardized version.
Okay. How much cost saving does the customer have with the predictive care? What are the cost benefit analysis?
So on an average, with the predictive maintenance, an average Indian user saves around 40 to 50% by following the recommendations that we send across to them. And without that recommendations, we've seen the ticket size of that particular vehicle increase drastically, because most of the parts are worn out by the time they service the next time with us.
Your website talks about transit insurance. How and what do you provide?
So in terms of transit insurance, so most of our customers were concerned about the safety of the vehicle during the transit while collecting and while delivering. So we introduced transit insurance in integration with a third-party insurance provider to see to it that the vehicles are delivered, and on top of that, each of these deliveries are covered up to 2,000 rupees in terms of insurance value.
That's all. Thank you so much, Kunjan. We'll be taking the remaining questions in the rapid fire round. I would like Deepak from Urjan Software to take forward.
Hi, good afternoon, friends. My name is Deepak. I'm the co-founder of Urjan Software Solutions. Though our journey started more than 3 years ago, it was formalized into sorry about that. My name is Deepak. I'm the co-founder of Urjan Software Solutions. Though our journey started more than 3 years ago, it was formalized into a privately limited company in the month of September 2019. Our focus is providing information technology solution for medical data management. When I say that, I want to clarify that we are neither into practice management nor into hospital management system. We intend to create a solution that will deliver intrinsic value to our users, which are essentially health service providers. And what I mean by that, I will explain. In a country like India, hundreds and thousands of cases are handled every single day, generating huge amount of medical data. Unfortunately, majority of the data stays in files, which restricts the proper use of this wealth of information for better patient outcomes. And that is the problem we are trying to address at. Before getting into solution, it is essential to understand how this medical data is actually used. Broadly, medical data is used in two manners. One, for day-to-day management, for archival, for referrals. You can say it as for an ongoing process, and for running continual medical education program or for research purposes. What is required as per our analysis is to have a well-archived repository of medical data information, which can be A, shared securely on need-based basis, and B, accessed by various stakeholders as appropriate. After analyzing the need, we have proposed two distinct platforms, keeping the repository as the backbone of our solution. These two distinct platforms to meet distinct requirements in terms of medical data management and collaboration, what we call it as a MyRx folder, which would be used for day-to-day requirement, and the VCME, which means the virtual continual medical education platform for running the academic activities. Our objective is a solution that creates value. With that objective, we decided to target small to medium nursing homes, the MSMEs of Healthcare India. Why? Because they generate huge amount of medical data. They are liable to maintain this data at least for 5 years. They cannot afford full-scale hospital management information system, but need a cost-effective solution. For VCME, we chose to focus and support super specialty medical consultants because they are highly academically oriented and closely associated with academic and medical institutes. With that plans, we rolled out our beta in the month of April 2019. We started generating early traction in the month of January 2020, and we were looking to scale up, generate more traction from April 2020. But because of the lockdown, it has got pushed up, and now we have started generating the traction. As far as VCM is concerned, we did our global launch in the month of May 2020. The platform will still have to undergo further enhancement before we can plan revenues, which will possibly come in the Q3 of 2020. It is always said that the proof of pudding lies in eating. So it was necessary for us to get our vision validated before we get into the business. So as far as MyRx folder is concerned, it was validated by diverse user spectrum, which were nursing homes, dialysis center, geriatric care centers, and also consultants. Most of our beta customers became our paid customers within about 6 months. And since we are entering a very high growth market potential, we already have more than 3,000 medical data users in just 6 months of our time. As far as VCM is concerned, we did a global launch on neurosurgical fraternity, a very niche super specialties stream. It was inaugurated by the world president of WFNS, that is World Federation of Neurosurgical Societies. So we already have an endorsement from the World Federation, the apex body. More than 350 neurosurgeons and 3 neurosurgical societies already have registered users. We also held 2 international scientific programs. So both this platform, how does our unit economic really works? I talked about focusing on small to medium nursing homes. We have taken an average bed size of 30 beds. The estimated patient turnover for that kind of nursing home would be about 75 patients. And the current revenue that we are generating is 150 rupees with 3-year validity, effectively 50 rupees per year. And that is the revenue we are getting today. Our target is to have on board at least 200 users with minimum 43 to 45,000 medical data records. And for super specialty medical stream, we are having about roughly 40,000 neurosurgeons all over the world. In India alone, we are about close to 2,000 neurosurgeons, and we are targeting to onboard about 1,000 of them. And this is going to be free for the users. And we expect to generate revenue in terms of sponsorship as educational grants from pharma companies or event sponsorship. And if you average it out, we expect to generate about 450 rupees per user per month for VCME. So where do we really stand vis-a-vis our competition is concerned? As far as MyRx folder is concerned, I don't think that we have any direct competitor, but yes, we have very well established players like Tractor, Laboratory, who are indirect competitors to us. But the main distinguishing factor is that they are focusing on consultants. When I say consultants, they are focusing on OPD, outpatient department services, where our focus is necessarily where patients are admitted and where medical data is generated in terms of patient history, diagnosis, treatments, ICU charts, and so on and so forth. So that is the main differentiating factor. As far as DCM is concerned, we have direct competitors in form of Curify and Doc Places, but the main differentiating factor between the two, they are all DCME platforms, but they have multiple streams on one platform. We believe that each branch of medicine is a field of itself in itself, and that is the reason an accomplished general surgeon will never do a neurosurgery, and therefore we have decided to focus one stream, one platform. Right now our focus is neurosurgical fraternity. Maybe we will take it to nephrology or other stream as we grow. I have reasons to believe that we are entering a virgin market with a very high growth potential, and therefore we have a very formidable team to drive our fashion in form of Milan, who was a CTO of a large technology company, now is a senior IT consultant. I have been dealing with super specialty medical consultants for a very long time now, and Rajiv. So what are we really asking for to take us to next level is 25 lakhs rupees for my RX folder. Majority of that will go into IT infra and tech support and marketing, product promotion. And as far as DCM is concerned, we are still in beta. We have already generated, I'm not exactly, money has not come through, but an amount of approximately rupees 6 lakhs is coming in form of educational grant from a pharma company. So that will help us to take this platform to next level, and then we will start exploring further options. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I am open for questions if any.
Time for polling. Time's up. So now we begin with the Q&A. Okay. How many hospitals have been on board so far? What incentivizes them to share their patient data with Ooja?
As far as, so I believe you're talking about my RX folder. Right now, we have 6 hospitals. When I say hospitals, 6 different secondary service providers. One is a dialysis center, one is a nursing home, one is a multi-city clinic, one is a pediatric center. They are already onboarded with us, and one is a senior consultant. They are already onboarded with us. What they don't, when the question is asked about what incentivizes them to share the data with us, is that basically we help them to digitize their medical data, which they are not able to do right now. Medical data in majority of the form is still as a paper document. We are helping them to digitize it. We are helping them to bring it on a digital platform so that they can better use it for their own analytics, and also add to the repository so that it can be shared on need basis. Basically, we don't share anything to anyone. It is the data user owners. It is their choice to share it with whosoever they want as per their discretion.
Okay. Since you mentioned it's important private health data, how will you manage the GDPR issues, data privacy, data leakages?
Well, as far as GDPR issues, let me be honest with you, GDPR issues is not my personal expertise, but Milind, my co-founder, is a certified GDPR certified implementer and auditor advising big corporates on these issues. And I'm very sure he is taking the right measures to protect. He is a part of our team, and he is the right person to answer this question.
Okay, this is a quite crowded market. How will you differentiate yourself?
Well, yes, it is a crowded market because medical is a huge field, but the differentiating factor is that we are addressing the issue which is a problem today. You just look around wherever you are, 2 kilometer radius, there would be possibly at least 20-25 nursing homes. Go to any one of them, more than 95% of the people, they will say, we are managing our medical data as a paper document and we need help to digitize it. Who will do it for us? So what we are proposing is a value solution, and that is where we are a differentiating factor. We are not into practice management, appointment, scheduling, and all that. There are too many people doing it, but our focus is medical data management, and that is what is the differentiating factor for us vis-a-vis others are concerned.
Okay, what is the opportunity outside India? Is there any?
Outside India, as far as my rights holder, I do not see any opportunities in the immediate future because India itself is a huge market. As far as VCM is concerned, we have already launched this platform for the neurosurgical fraternity globally. It's a closed community platform, and we already have neurosurgeons from different parts of the world. More than 350 of them have started using our platform for conducting their academic activities. So for VCME, we already we are a global presence we already created, though we are at a very early stage. I don't want to boast about it, but as far as my rights holder, I don't see any going beyond Indian borders, at least anytime in future, near future, I would say.
What is the customer acquisition cost and what are the margins?
Margins, I would say, we have just launched the platform. We have been doing beta for a long time. The margins, when we start acquiring, getting more customers, we are looking at a total margin at about 25 to 30%. Customer acquisition cost right now obviously is very high because we are just entering the market. We are going step by step. We are not rushing it through. But now that we have reached a position that we can take the next level, so the customer acquisition cost will substantially come down.
How do you scale up your business model to include more providers and hospitals? Also, how will you take care of multiple formats and standardize it across such providers and hospitals?
How do I scale up? See, medical market is an ocean. So we cannot really, that is my personal experience, that is how I have dealt it personally. We cannot follow a generic system of to acquire 200 customers, we need to approach 2000 customers. It will not work. Possibly we will have to go not bottom-up approach, we will have to go top-down approach. So we will have to select and promote our product through medical meetings where you have at a time large number of doctors present. That is how we will promote, and once people start using it, they start appreciating the concept, they start appreciating the value which they have been looking for, the growth will be automatic. That is how I look at it.
Thank you. That's all. We'll take up the remaining questions in the rapid fire round.
Thank you.
So those were our 4 startups. Now I'll request the 4 startups to just come in here so I can begin with the rapid fire round? Please, guys. So first question goes for Proto. What is the customer acquisition cost and how is the customer acquired?
So our current customer acquisition cost is between 180 to 200 rupees from different channels. So currently we've been acquiring customers through 3 different channels. First is Facebook, second is Google, and third is referral.
Next, for redesign, do you have such binding agreement with the content creator that they cannot market to any other medium?
All content creators have an exclusivity agreement with Redesign for a period of 12 months from the date that they join the platform. The content that is uploaded on the platform cannot be used anywhere else, and even if they leave the platform, the content stays with us. So all creators have an exclusivity and a binding platform with creators.
Great. Next question is for Urja. Are you capturing data and sharing across different medical centers, or does the data remain private in the hospital?
The data remains private. We don't share with anybody. It is the right of the data owner to share with whosoever they want to, and we provide the facility to them to share it either completely or selectively as they find it appropriate.
Okay. Next comes for Agrify. So Darpan, what is agro-tourism and are you involved in it?
So what we're trying to do is, before the COVID situation started, what we had planned out is that we've got our farmer partners who have big, huge farms and which are open for development, in which customers can actually visit the place where farming takes place. They can see the practices of how organic farming is actually done, and they can probably stay there. We want to enter that field soon so that it becomes a complete experience for our customers.
Great. So, Proto, what's the breakup for your 4-wheeler and 2-wheeler model?
Sorry, I didn't break up.
Breakup of your capital required for your 4-wheeler and 2-wheeler model.
So currently our focus is 2-wheelers, at least for 1.5 years. Then what we are looking to do is with the same set of service providers, we are going to equip them for the service 4-wheeler service stations without having to invest in the infrastructure to develop the 4-wheelers. So this particular round, the focus primarily would be on 2-wheelers, because 4-wheeler is again very crowded space for now. Going forward, we'll be looking to acquire same set of customers who are servicing their 2-wheelers to service their 4-wheelers.
Great. So next comes for redesign. Please share your absolute revenue number and not percentage. Can you just give a...
Yeah, our exact revenue number for FY 19-20, that is April 19 to March 20, is 1.36 CR, and for FY 18-19 was 23.5 lakhs, which is a 5x growth. So it's exactly 1.36 CR. It was a little over 12.5 lakhs a month, and yeah, that's the exact revenue. Our gross margin on this GMV is 50%. So that's exact for an entire year.
Urjam, what are your scale-up business plans?
Scale-up business plan, as far as my RX folder is concerned, I will go platform-wise. Our scale-up plan for the next year is we are targeting to reach out to minimum 200 users. The reason for 200 users is that we would prefer to have a evened out base in terms of our user profile. We would like to have nursing homes where patients are admitted for a period of 2, 3, 4 days, dialysis centers, which are essentially daycare centers, geriatric centers where we see admission for a longer duration of time. So different kind of data is generated and different kind of information is accumulated. So we would like to first create a solid foundation with these kind of users. And according to me, about 200 to 300 users is not a very ambitious target, and a target which can help us sustain through the year as far as our operational and employee cost is concerned. And then we can look for a quantum jump later on in the forthcoming year.
Darpan, what is your expertise in evaluating the farmers? And how do you retain the farmers if the market prices are higher than or better terms are offered?
So in terms of farmers, what we do is we do a thorough vetting process in which firstly we check for certifications. After sending certifications, there are soil audits which are done. These reports are verified. Post that, there is also a visit involved in which our team actually visits the place. And we've been doing this, as I had mentioned during the earlier question answer round. We've been involved in this before launching Agrify for the past 2 years, and we were doing it for a non-profit organization, and we've continued to do that. And in terms of retaining a farmer, what happens is that once he is associated with us for a certain period of time, he has a confidence that there is someone who will actually buy the produce, and because of which we can manage the rates too. So suppose the market rate increases a lot, but we have an understanding with the farmer that this is the cap which we are dealing with right now, and then since they have a surety that we are the ones who will be buying it from them for a long time, they are retained.
Kunjan, how does a customer hear about
So the lifetime value of a customer is close to 4,000 rupees, considering 3 services from us.
My question was, how does the customer hear about?
Okay, so customer basically hears about us through Google and Facebook. On top of that, we've been able to create network effects because that is something that is prominent in the two-wheeler space than in the four-wheeler space. So that is the reason why we've started incentivizing the referral. So our existing customers, they reach out to their friends and family to get their vehicle service from us.
Great. So, Shikhar, how do you ensure exclusivity of the content?
All of the content that is posted on Redesign is made especially for Redesign. If it's a video piece of content or online classes in terms of images or design, it is there is a declaration from the content creator that the content has been made for the platform and that it is not available anywhere. So we do a background check for 2 things. One is an IP breach if the content is posted on the internet anywhere. So if it has more than 2 copies, the content is automatically rejected. This is done by a bot, IBM Watson, and there is also a manual process involved in this. Other than that, we are getting all of the creators to create more and more content on the go. So even if a previous content was available on YouTube, a new piece of content will be posted that will be exclusive to our platform.
Darpan, the next question is for you. What the barriers to entry and your team size?
So right now, in terms of team, as I said, we've got 4 of us, the co-founders, we're together. Apart from that, in terms of customer service, we've got 2 people there. We've got 2 people in marketing who are solely doing telecalling, because when we launched our B2C website, the kind of response that we got is that we've got right now a huge database to whom we are calling. So we've got them. At our backend operations, we've got 2 managers there, one for managing the quality and one for procurement. And apart from that, we've got our delivery people. We've got 3 delivery executives. We've got our drivers and our labor force, which is already working there.
And Darpan, what is your monthly run rate from commission revenue?
So monthly commission revenue, it depends. So right now it's about, in a daily scale, if we take a look at it, it's about 10,000 rupees. So if you go about 3 lakh rupees from commissions.
Okay, and what is Is your Android and iPhone app ready?
Our Android app is ready. Our iOS app is currently under progress, and so iOS users currently order their items through our website itself.
Deepak, how will you take care of multiple formats and standardize it across such providers and hospitals?
Well, there are multiple formats. When I say that we are helping them to digitize, what we have done, we have essentially created a simpler document management system, which is easy to operate. It is very difficult to standardize all the formats, which are essentially paper formats. So majority of these formats are scanned and uploaded, and the summary of those reports are fed in the system. For example, if there is a X-ray or a CT scan, the CT scan itself can be fed in the system, and the summary of the CT scan report is fed in the system, so that any doctor or in case the patient is referred to, they can just have a look at the summary, and if they want to, then they can further go deep into looking at the actual X-ray or the reports or the total blood reports, something like that. That is how we have planned, and that is how we are going to do.
Shikhar, what is the distribution of revenue and margin from content creators and merchandise?
In the last year, so I'll address that for 2019-20, which is April 19 to March 20. The distribution is, like I said, 15 and 85%. 85% of that revenue came from merchandise sales, and 15% of the revenue came from content creators paying Redesign a platform fees to be available on the platform. It was a freemium model till 6 months back. We converted it into a premium model only 6 months back. So any content creator that would join the platform now would pay a fees to be on the platform. But in the previous year, it's been a 15 to 85 split between fees paid by creators to the platform and revenue earned through merchandise sales.
Okay. Kunjan, how are you stacked against Karkhana?
Karkhana primarily deals in car service. Right? Our current focus is two-wheeler, primarily reason being the space is not very crowded. There are 2-3 players in the two-wheeler space. Primarily, the reason why people are not entering the two-wheeler space is unit economics, and we have cracked the unit economics where unit economics positive. Also, we have better retention rate compared to any other two-wheeler competitors that we.
Great. Darpan, what is the bounce rate for your Android app and what technology have you used?
Currently it was, since it was developed in a very short time. So what had happened was, after the COVID situation had started, we launched our B2C platform with through WhatsApp messages, then through Google Forms. And since the time for creating the Android platform was less, so it is based on WordPress. But right now, again, we have been developing it. It will be based on Django and Java. It is already under development, and it should be ready in the next 10 to 15 days. Same goes for the iOS app. Since our base was a WordPress mobile web-based application, that's why we had a limitation of launching our iOS at the time. But in the next 10 to 15 days, both of them will be live.
Thank you so much, everyone. That's it. Now I'll request Tanay. Tanay from our investment team.
Thank you for logging in. This is the first time we've done the investor conclave in a virtual format. So thank you for joining us on a Saturday. Through our experience over the past investor conclaves, interactions with the investment community and our startups, we identified the need to structure and formalize early stage startups. That's how we created the 25/7 model. And thereafter, we started building the 25/7 network. As a part of the network, we brought together a whole host of entrepreneurs, family business owners, successful entrepreneurs, senior professionals, corporate executives, and other like-minded people. it's thrilling to know that since our launch in April of this year, we've already onboarded in excess of 330 members. These members are not only from India, but also across the globe. Most importantly, the success of our incubation center is directly linked to the success of our startups. We are thrilled to inform you that our startups have created about 700 jobs till date. Across sectors, our startups are solving pressing problems in each of the sectors that they operate in. In particular, it is gratifying to know that 7 of our startups put together have raised 4.6 crores, and 2 of our startups have even gone on to raise follow-up rounds. I hope you enjoyed the pitches and generously invest into our startups. Our team will be reaching out to you in the coming days to take things forward. Lastly, I'd like to thank my entire team for putting this show together and the startups for the great pitches. They've worked really hard over the last few months. So great job, everyone. Pratik, Karishma, thank you.
Thank you so much, Saleh. Thank you everyone for attending this event. I know it's a Saturday morning, and you all must have had plans, but thank you so much. It was lovely to host you all. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
It's done. ये 4 लोगों का पहला है ना, फिर हम लोग आए। You also तो यही लाइट ज्यादा अच्छा किधर है आप मेरे पास लाइट है बाहर भी अच्छा है अंदर भी
तो इधर ही करते हो ना अब तो कुछ हमको बेटर है अंदर होगा ये इनका ये बहुत नहीं बट ये गिनी पिग बन सकता है ये तो ठीक होएगा देख लो